Myst, Might, Mayhem. By Han Jung-Leolya. Chapter 62. Gal-jeo. Part 1. A smile that reached his ears. Sometimes, someone's smiling face can lower the other person's guard. However, the moment the boy saw that smile in response to his plea for help, he felt a strong malice that went beyond mere repulsion. Flinch. This caused him to falter in his steps. But the other two boys weren't like that. Huff huff. Hey! Help us! Some monster like wolf is chasing us. They ran towards Mayhem, pleading for help. At this, the boy shouted in alarm. Wait a moment, stop. Before he could even finish his words. The moment the boy who had run over to ask for help reached right in front of him, Mayhem naturally grabbed his neck and twisted it. Crack! Kook! With a final scream, the boy with the broken neck collapsed to the ground. Startled by this sight, the other boy stumbled backward in shock. Hick! Thud! As Mayhem approached the fallen boy, "Why, you bastard, what are you doing?" The boy who had stopped due to a bad feeling shouted. In response, Mayhem laughed nonchalantly and lightly leaped, pushing his palm and kicking the head of the fallen boy who was trying to dodge backward. Crack! He kicked so hard that the boy's head was bent backward. The way his mouth gaped open, he seemed to have met his end. Seeing this, the boy was at a loss for words. This crazy bastard. Even if they were in a competitive relationship, this wasn't a situation where they were fighting over a flag. Yet he killed the other party who asked for help as soon as they met. What kind of madman does that? It was absurd. Oink oink. From behind, the sound of pig-like squeals could be heard. Along with it, the bushes rustled. Damn it. A rough sound escaped the boy's mouth. He was truly caught between a rock and a hard place. Behind him was a monstrous beast, and in front of him stood a madman indiscriminately slaughtering others. No, perhaps the saying "a tiger in front and a wolf behind" was more fitting. Do or die. The boy, whose face was covered in cold sweat, chose neither the front nor the back but the steep cliff to the right. Aha! With a shout, the boy launched his body to the right. Tap! Whether it was the front or the back, if he was going to lose his life either way, he had no choice but to take a gamble. At that moment, he felt a strange sensation of something pulling the back of his head. With that, the body of the boy who was about to fall suddenly floated backward and flew back. Then, puck! The boy's head was grasped by Mayhem's hand. The boy's eyes widened. What was this? It wasn't directly pulled by hand. Could it be the so-called empty space grasping where a profound inner expert could pull objects or something with their true chi? That's impossible. It was hard to believe. How could this guy, who was the same age as him, possess such profound true chi? Moreover, their meridians were currently sealed by the Jimunso. So how did he do it? At that moment. Oink oink. Along with the pig-like squeals, a large wolf with a red head and rat-like eyes emerged through the bushes. Between its bared sharp teeth was a mouthful of bloody flesh. Seeing this, Mayhem raised an eyebrow and muttered, "And what's this?" The boy whose head was grasped spoke hastily in a frightened voice, "I told you. Some monster-like thing was chasing us." So it was that? This isn't the time for that, we need to run away. Although he said that, it seemed too late already. The distance between the monstrous beast and them was at most 20 to 25 steps. It was too close to run away from that beast, which was as fast as a horse. Oink oink. The beast walked forward, drooling profusely. As if it thought it could catch them at any time, it narrowed the distance step by step. Feeling extreme fear from this, the boy muttered in a dazed voice. Damn it. It's all because of you, tap. Before the boy could finish his words, Mayhem released his hand from the boy's head and quickly formed hand seals. Puck. 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 Soldier. Fight. Rupture. Formation. They were the hand seals of the 9-character vitality technique. What the hell is he doing? As the boy wondered, Mok Jaeyonan made a square with the index and middle fingers of both hands and aimed it at the approaching beast. Then, swoosh! 4 invisible pillars soared around the approaching beast. At that moment, Mok Jaeyonan said softly, 4 peaks linking technique. Then, surfaces were created by the 4 pillars that had become terrifyingly thick. The boy couldn't see it, but it was clearly visible to the beast's eyes that this had blocked it, so it stopped and rolled its eyes. Then, as if it had decided to forcibly break through, it launched its body. Puck! Squeal! The beast that had launched its body like that crashed into something and bounced back. What? The boy couldn't understand this sight. Nothing was visible, so why was that monster-like beast acting like that? Could it be that this guy did something? At that moment, Mok Jaeyonan made a gesture of opening his palm towards the trapped beast and then clenching it. Contract. Swoosh! At that instant, the 4 surfaces trapping the beast rapidly compressed. As the space narrowed, the beast seemed to panic and began thrashing around. Seeing the beast like this, Mok Jaeyonan clenched his hand even tighter. Oink oink! Crack crack crack! The intervals of the beast's thrashing narrowed. At the moment when the intervals had narrowed to the point where it was difficult to move, the beast bristled the red fur on its head, and then let out a tremendous roar. Squeal! Ack! The sound was so loud that the boy covered his ears. Mok Jaeyonan endured this and tried to clench his hand to crush the beast to death, but... Crack crack crack! At that moment, cracks appeared on the compressing surfaces. Then... Crash! The 4 peaks linking technique shattered in an instant and the beast leaped out. Damn! When a spell imbued with spell power is broken, the backlash is suffered by the caster. Mok Jaeyounan's body was pushed back about 2 steps. Swish! Oink oink! The beast that had leaped out excitedly scraped the ground with its feet and let out a fierce roar. Hick! At this, the boy who had been covering his ears panicked and tried to back away while supporting himself with his hands. However, the beast that had leaped out, contrary to its fierce roar, stared intently at Mok Jaeyonan, then turned its body and disappeared into the bushes as if fleeing. Huff, huff, ha! Seeing that sight, the boy who had been frightened let out a sigh of relief. It was hard to believe even after experiencing it. To think he had driven away such a monster-like being in a bizarre way. Then, a voice was heard near his ears. Why are you feeling relieved? The boy, whose eyes had widened, tried to hastily get up. But it was already too late. Mok Jaeyonan twisted the neck of the boy who was trying to get up. Crack! After the boy died, Mok Jaeyonan absorbed the death chi starting from the boy he had killed first using the Tak ritual. It was because the longer it took, the more death chi would dissipate. Only after finishing absorbing the death chi did he open his mouth. That red-headed wolf from earlier, what was it? Well, it's my first time seeing it directly, but judging from its appearance and pig-like squeals, it seems to be a Gal-jeo. Gal-jeo? It's a man-eating fierce beast that inhabits the northern sea near Mount Beihao. I know it's a man-eating beast. Its appearance alone was completely different from ordinary beasts. Moreover, being a man-eating beast, it must have been affected by sorcery. Rather, seeing how it broke the 4 peaks linking technique, it didn't seem to be a low-grade man-eating beast, so he asked. Judging from how it broke the spell, it doesn't seem to be of a low grade. According to sorcerer Zhou Yuigong, the 4 peaks linking technique was originally created to eliminate vengeful spirits, so it could only handle the lowest grade of monstrous beasts. The grades of man-eating beasts were divided into vicious beasts, monstrous beasts, demonic beasts, devil beasts, spiritual beasts, and divine beasts. To Mok Jaeyounan's words, Chong Ryong replied, I heard that a mature Gal-jeo is called a monstrous beast. However, based on its size earlier, it's not fully grown yet. It's not fully grown? Yes. Even so, it will be incomparably stronger than ordinary vicious beasts. It probably possesses strength somewhere between a fierce beast and a monstrous beast. As I thought. That seemed to be the reason why the four peaks linking technique was broken. It exceeded the capacity that the technique could handle. For a man-eating beast like the Gal-jeo, it was nothing more than a way to buy time, so there was no need to use this technique. Mok Jiangnan got up from his spot and said, "This is troublesome." "Why? Are you suddenly scared now that you can't use your internal energy and the spells you learned don't work well? If that's really the case, I will." "No. That's not it. I think we need to hurry." "Hurry? Before that man-eating beast interferes with my meal, I should move more diligently." "No, it might be better to deal with it first." Ah. So that was his perspective. He was worried that the man-eating beast would kill more boys than him. Chong Ryong clicked her tongue inwardly. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Meanwhile, the group led by Mayhem from Vermilion Slaughter Valley was moving cautiously. However, 3 of them were grunting while jointly carrying the lump of metal at the bottom of the flag, and the rest were sticking close to them in a circle. One of the boys carrying the lump of metal complained. "No. If we're going to find a different type of flag, why do we have to carry this like this? Can't we just break off the upper part and go?" In response to the boy's complaint, Mayhem from Vermilion Slaughter Valley urged, "Stop grumbling and do as you're told. If my prediction is correct, you guys will have to thank me." At these words, the boys shook their heads from side to side. Did it make sense to them that the monster-like beast avoided them simply because it was scared of the flag? No matter how much they thought about it, they couldn't understand. Rather than inefficiently carrying the flag like this, they thought it would be better to just break the flagpole and move quickly to seize or find another flag. But then, as they were doing that, a sound was heard from somewhere. Oink oink. Startled by the sound, they stopped in their tracks. It was definitely that thing. Rustle rustle. The bushes in the northwest direction rustled, and soon the beast revealed itself. Seeing this, the boys were about to put down the flag they were carrying and prepare to run away, but... "Stay still." Mayhem from Vermilion Slaughter Valley dissuaded them. No, they should either run away or join forces to confront it, but what did he mean by staying still? As they were thinking that, the beast looked at the flag they were holding, then raised its ears in alarm, turned its body, and went back into the bushes. Huh? The beast really ran away after seeing the flag. At this, Mayhem from Vermilion Slaughter Valley spoke in a triumphant voice. "See?" He confirmed that his judgment was correct. But after confirming this, a sudden thought occurred to him. If we do it well, we might be able to use it. There were probably few people who knew that the flag served as protection. The corners of Mayhem from Vermilion Slaughter Valley's mouth curled up bitterly. Chapter 63. Gal-jeo. Part 2. Not far from the valley where the steel marble competition took place and the mountain where the flag battle was unfolding, there was another cave there. Creak. Creak. 5 carriages in a procession headed towards that cave. Red-belted warriors were pulling the carriages and entering the cave illuminated by torches. The carriages that had entered the cave like that stopped at a certain place. There, numerous bodies of boys were lying down. Phew. Is this the last of them? Then shall we move them? The red-belted warriors who had pulled the carriages started the task of laying the corpses side by side. The remaining carriages that arrived one after another were the same. Plop. Is it because we took them out late? The bodies are bloated. A red-belted warrior clicked his tongue while looking at a corpse that was swollen with water. Although it was shallow valley water, there were deep parts, so it seemed the entire body had been submerged. Then, a middle-aged man wearing a Taoist robe with yin and yang drawn on it approached and said, "Exclude that one. Isn't this much fine? We can't perform the work with this." Oh my. At this, the red-belted warriors moved the corpse to a carriage on the left side of the cave. As they were moving the corpse to the carriage, one warrior couldn't hold back and vomited. Black. Seeing this warrior, the other warriors clicked their tongues. Tsk tisk. As expected of a rookie. Of course, they said that, but they actually understood. At least the corpses lying over there had few wounds, so they still retained human form. However, the ones in the carriage were the dropouts. None of them were intact. Having crushed heads was common, and there were many missing a leg or with organs torn out. It was so horrific that it made one want to vomit just by looking. Get it together. Rookie. Ah, yes sir. The warrior who had thrown up the contents of his stomach barely got up and replied. As the corpse sorting work was somewhat finished like that, the dropouts nearly filled 3 carriages. Then, the middle-aged man in the Taoist robe from earlier approached the warriors and said, "Let's go." The Taoist-robed middle-aged man led the way, and the red-belted warriors pulled the carriages piled with corpses. The carriages moved along a narrow sloped path and stopped in front of a cliff at the foot of the mountain after half a second. The Taoist-robed middle-aged man took out a handful of something from his bosom. They were talismans. Chain was written on them, and the Taoist-robed middle-aged man said as he attached a talisman one by one to the dead corpses on the carriages. "When throwing them, don't look down the cliff." "Yes sir." The red-belted warriors, who answered nonchalantly, threw the corpses with talismans attached off the cliff one after another in a familiar manner. Seeing this, the rookie warrior was inwardly baffled. If they were unusable corpses, it would be cleaner to just burn them, but if they threw them all in a place like this, wouldn't the bottom be overflowing with corpses? Even in broad daylight, it would be too horrific to muster the courage to go down. The rookie warrior asked his senior, who was also carrying corpses. "Senior, why are we throwing them off this cliff instead of just burning them?" "Just do as you're told." "Why are you being curious?" Sorry." As the rookie shut his mouth in dejection, the senior clicked his tongue and said in a low voice, "Listen and let it go in one ear and out the other. From what I've heard, the stream flowing down from this cliff connects to a branch of the cave below. What does that have to do with this?" "I told you I don't know. Something about becoming nutrients or whatever, but for lowly folks like us, we just need to do as we're told. You'll only bring trouble upon yourself by needlessly having doubts." "Got it?" "Yes sir." "Nutrients? What the hell was becoming nutrients?" He couldn't understand at all. Come to think of it, they said they did this every time the barrier of the corpse blood valley was conducted, so just how many corpses have been discarded below this cliff? Even now, it exceeded 100. Shudder. Without thinking, he looked down, and for a moment, goosebumps rose all over his body. It felt like something ominous and unpleasant was creeping up from the darkness that seemed to suck him in. Tap. Gasp. Just then, someone grabbed his shoulder. It was the man in the Taoist robe who had been attaching the talismans. The man in the Taoist robe said to the startled rookie warrior in a low voice, "What did I say earlier?" "Pardon?" "I asked what I said earlier." "Ah, not to look down the cliff." "Then it's best to never look down." "Why yes?" To the flustered rookie, the man in the Taoist robe warned in a meaningful tone, "You may be bewitched." Bewitched? What did that mean? Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It was around the time when a Shurchen and Tuku had passed since the flag defense battle began. As a considerable amount of time had elapsed, nearly half of the flags had been discovered by the boys, and the fighting to defend and seize them was in full swing. However, an unexpected variable occurred within this flag defense battle. That was oink oink. The appearance of the man-eating beast, the Gal-jeo. It was already incomparably more brutal than regular beasts, and it could be said to be the worst variable for the boys whose internal energy was sealed and had no weapons. In particular, the boys who were searching here and there alone to find flags without their teammates were being indiscriminately attacked and killed. Chomp. Aarg. Another boy was caught by the Gal-jeo in the middle of the mountainside. The Gal-jeo liked human heads, so it crushed and devoured them with its vicious teeth every time it caught one. It didn't even eat the other parts. As a result, corpses with crushed heads were being discovered in various parts of the mountain, heightening the boys' vigilance to an extreme level. Damn it. What is this? Are you sure they ended up like this from fighting? A group that had not yet found a flag was shocked upon discovering a corpse. This was definitely not a trace of having died while fighting. Even if internal energy is sealed, they couldn't have been caught by a beast, right? You're right. These are teeth marks. No. No matter how much of a beast it is, can it completely chew up a head? Even a tiger would have gnawed on the skull, no? A corpse with its head completely missing. No matter how they looked at it, they couldn't understand. Mok Yucheon, who was with them, had dark circles under his eyes. Huh. This place was truly like hell. While engaging in a flag-seizing battle, he had lost 3 boys who were his comrades, and now the 5 of them were wandering around looking for another flag. But in the process, he had seen over 20 corpses. Among them, only about 3 seemed to have died while fiercely fighting over a flag, and the rest had met bizarre deaths. 10 corpses without heads like this one. And he had discovered 7 corpses that had died cleanly. Most of them had their necks broken. Not all of them had their necks broken, but most seemed to have been killed in a similar manner. It didn't seem like they had engaged in hand-to-hand combat or fought fiercely, but rather died without being able to properly resist against someone. What the? Just what? Those who killed like this seemed to have lost their lives unrelated to the flags. The problem lay in this. The flag battle alone was already making everyone struggle with bloodshot eyes, but it seemed that unknown beings were killing boys left and right. Just who was doing these things? About 200 jang east from where Mok Yucheon was, on the middle of the mountainside. One of the culprits he was curious about had his hand on the chest of a headless corpse, absorbing death chi. It was none other than Mok Jaeon. Mok Jaeon, who had been quickly absorbing death chi, soon removed his hand. And as if displeased, he muttered, "It's lacking." "You mean death chi?" "Yes. Of course it would be. For corpses attacked by man-eating beasts, most of the chi they possessed rapidly depletes as it gets devoured." At Chong Ryong's words, Mok Jaeon clicked his tongue. Even the chi that comes out upon death depletes this quickly. It was quite troublesome. He had diligently moved to kill more boys than the Gal-jeo, a man-eating beast, to obtain death chi, but he was falling behind instead. It's starting to annoy me a bit. Unlike himself who needed time to absorb death chi, this Gal-jeo, a man-eating beast, would just gobble up the heads and go after another prey. It should be full enough by now, but it kept eating endlessly. It feels like I'm eating someone else's leftovers. Why are you doing that? But this bastard seems to be eating a lot more than I thought. Mok Jaeon shrugged and said, "It doesn't seem to be full." "No. It's a lot even considering that. It should be full enough by now, but it's eating quite a lot. It may be because it's in a period of active growth." "I see. What is it?" "It might be a fellow that's right before becoming an adult." "An adult?" "Yes. Among man-eating beasts, there are those that require a lot of chi for reproduction or to become adults. So Gal-jeo is that type? Perhaps?" At Chong Ryong's words, Mok Jaeon stroked his chin as if troubled. If this guy kept eating like this, his share would be significantly reduced. Thus, Mok Jaeon decided to change directions. "This won't do. I'll have to catch that Gal-jeo first." He had thought that leaving it alone would cause chaos around him and actually benefit him. But in the current state, it was rather a hindrance. So Mok Jaeon made up his mind to kill the Gal-jeo first. "How? Can you help me? You said you could do it alone, but even you can't help it in this situation, eh?" Chong Ryong snorted and said, "Then take me out of this cramped place." At this, Mok Jayangan held the wooden puppet she was in, formed hand seals, and chanted a spell. The origin connects to the earth, the 9 turns return to the source, release. Swoosh! Eventually, a large shadow appeared from the wooden puppet, and Chang Ryong slowly revealed herself holding a long pipe. Having come out, she stretched and said as if refreshed. As expected, it's much better than being trapped. Phew. Chang Ryong took a puff from the long pipe and exhaled a long trail of smoke. To her, Mok Jayangan said, "Can you confirm where that thing is?" "No, if you can eliminate it, Chang Ryong, that would be fine too. I'll do that even without you pestering me. Just wait." Poof. Chang Ryong soon soared into the sky. Unlike a demonic beast, she was of a higher class, so even without possessing a body, the range in which she could move was extremely wide. Chang Ryong, who had flown higher than the treetops like that, surveyed the surroundings. Her blood-red ghostly eyes slowly swept over the entire mountain. But Chang Ryong, who had been looking around, raised an eyebrow. She had thought that if it was obsessed with eating humans to that extent, she would find it quickly, but contrary to her expectations, the beast was not visible to her ghostly eyes. If it was right before becoming a monstrous beast, its appetite should be overflowing, so it was strange. Where the hell did it go? Was it not in this vicinity? Thus, Chang Ryong flew even higher. It was because she thought the Gal-jeo might have moved to a more distant place. As she was looking around like that, flinch! Her gaze was fixed on somewhere. "Huh!" An exclamation naturally flowed out of Chang Ryong's mouth. When she was inside the wooden puppet, she couldn't sense the external chi, so she had no way of knowing this. But now, she couldn't help but see it. No, it would be strange if her eyes and ears weren't drawn to this tremendous thing. From the distant cliff she was looking at, countless screams were spreading upward. So she immediately descended. Mok Jayangan asked, "Did you find it already?" "No. I didn't see it. More importantly, you better quickly follow me now." At her somewhat excited voice, Mok Jayangan couldn't hide his puzzlement. Regardless of that, Chang Ryong flew ahead as if guiding him somewhere. So Mok Jayangan followed her. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It wasn't that far. That place, Tuku away, was located deep in the boundary of the mountain towards a certain cliff. Looking at the ground, wheel tracks? The sloped path was full of wheel tracks as if carriages had been pulled. As he was proceeding with bewilderment, flinch! Mok Jayangan's steps momentarily faltered at the ominous chi spreading from ahead. What in the world is this? Ever since his ghost eyes opened and his sixth sense awakened, he couldn't help but become sensitive to such things, so why hadn't he noticed this until now? With suspicion, he surveyed the surroundings. Then he discovered something. The talismans and carved spells attached between the cliffs and trees. They were controlling the ominousness flowing out so it couldn't escape outside. But even with this many talismans attached, as he approached closer, just what was there for such tremendous ominousness to leak out to this extent? When he reached the place where the wheel tracks ended, he saw Chang Ryong sitting on the edge of the cliff smoking a long pipe. "Do you see it?" At her question, Mok Jayangan's flesh trembled. "Kaya iya. Aarg. Save me ee. Please. Please." The endless screams spreading from below. Along with those sounds, ominous chi that made the skin feel prickly was crashing upwards as if desperate to climb up but unable to do so. Take a closer look. Mok Jayangan approached the edge of the cliff and looked down. It was like a bottomless pit. Countless resentments were intermingled, spewing out endless malice and ominousness. Even with talismans attached all over the cliff, if it was to this extent, those with weak mental strength might lose consciousness just by looking at it. "Kid. Do you know what goo poison is?" How could I not know? There was almost nothing he didn't know about medicinal herbs and poisons. Of course, he had never directly seen goo poison, but he remembered what he heard from his grandfather. It was a secret art originating from the Nanman region where dozens or hundreds of poisonous creatures were put into a jar and the lid was not opened until only one survived. The worst one that survived like that was called goo poison. Why are you asking that? Chong Ryong said with the corners of her mouth twitching. There's goo poison down there.